everyone, and welcome back to the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast. You might notice if you're watching us on YouTube that we are in a very different location than normal and with a very different person. I'm here with Heather Hendrickson, filling in for Elaine Zambos. Heather, how are you today?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Michael?
Good. Doing well.
Good.
Heather, you are one of the sponsors of this show, and I want to say thank you so very much.
Well, that's awfully nice of you. You're welcome. It's a joy.
Of course. Okay, so we are fellow chapter members in BNI, and you are you sponsor us through your insurance agency. Can you just tell us about the Hendrickson Agency?
Absolutely. So we are an insurance agency. We offer kind of every line of business from personal to commercial, pet and life and health. And so I'm just excited to be kind of the one-stop shop for anybody that's looking for kind of one-on-one hands-on care.
Absolutely. Great. And then you also host your own podcast as well.
I do. Heather's Most Precious.
Heather's Most Precious. And you are very nice for having us in your set today. So we're trading places a little bit. We're here at 148 Studios. We got Daniel behind the camera here. Thank you. I love Daniel.
He's fabulous.
So Heather, today I want to hear your thoughts on delegation.
Oh, something that I struggle with. So delegation is so crucial, especially for business owners. I know it's really hard, though, because we want to do it all. Because, I'll speak for myself. I know that if I take it on, I'm going to do it really well. And it's going to get done when I want it done because I'm in control of that.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit scary to pass it to people. And, of course, when you pass it, they're not going to do it the way you did it. They may not even do it well initially because there's got to be a training time. And so there's a lot of grace that has to be given. But at the end of the day, if you trust your team, you have to be able to trust that you can delegate and let go. That's my trouble, is like letting go, because I also don't want to overwhelm my team.
Totally.
So I think that's what goes on in the back of my head is like, oof, if I just do it though, because I don't want to put more on their plate. But at the same time, what is it preventing me from doing?
Right.
And I think that's the key line. Delegation is just so important. And by giving those, your team is so grateful, because you saying that you trust them is one thing.
Right.
But you actually showing them by saying and they know how important the stuff is.
Totally.
So if I pass it off to one of my employees, they're like, oh my goodness. It's the joy.
Yeah, they take ownership. They feel invested.
Do.
And a lot of times people do even better than you thought they were going to do.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And you give them the opportunity to show up, right? And to show out and to give it. But also, if you've trained your team to ask questions before they take action, right, they're going to come to you if they have a question, right? So you just need to prepare yourself. Hey, there's going to be a little bit of a transition like there is with anything. But then just trust that they're going to do it. And I'll tell you, if I'm doing delegation right, and if I have truly let go of the things that I cannot do and be the boss well, then it makes my life easier, and I realize that we grow more when I do that, which is huge, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you know the I think it was the Harvard Review article about monkeys on your back and supervision?
No.
That's like one of my favorite kind of metaphor stories about leadership. And so it's this idea that if you think about, problems or tasks or whatever it is in the office as monkeys on your back. And let's say that you're the employee and I'm the supervisor, and you come to me and you say, hey, I'm working on this monkey, but I've got this question or problem. In the moment, right? We're friends. I want to be helpful. I say, oh, well, that's fine. I'll take it and I'll do this and then give it back to you, right? And that might work in small quantities and in, from time to time and all that kind of stuff. But if I'm doing that with every employee, all of a sudden I have all the monkeys, right? Like, even if it's a small task, there's so many of them and I'm getting bogged down. Meanwhile, you as the employee are waiting. You're waiting for me.
Right.
So, thinking about some alternatives of that is like the opposite is not to say like, no, you do it, right? It's to say, okay, here, let's work on it together right now. Let's identify the problem. And then you continue working on it and see how far you can get, and then bring it back to me. And that, that way, like, you're still working on things, you're still helping it through, but you've kind of created this this metaphor, this quantity, so that it's easier to keep track of problems and make sure that, as the leader, that you're delegating appropriately.
Absolutely.
Cool, right?
That is.
Yeah.
I love like analogies and stories like that because it helps, right? Resonate a little bit differently and kind of shift that perspective.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful.
Cool. Do you have any stories of like times in the office where you delegated and had a happy result?
Yes. So I was able to delegate just a huge issue, a piece of a huge issue. And I know that the team member that I passed it to is looked at me like, Doe and Dara, like, what am I doing? But I think too, right, that's the challenge and that's the push, and took it and ran with it and made it a priority, and came to me, and she had created a spreadsheet for the answer that I needed from all of these billing accounts because there were so many.
Yeah.
And I was blown away because I would have just like written down what I needed and formed an email. And yet she now has this display so that we are able to proactively show him what's going on. And like it changed the way that we were able to communicate, right? People want to see what it is. And the fact that I wouldn't have thought of that. Right. I'm just thinking like, let's just get it done. I'll make the calls or I'll look at it or whatever. And so, and I think to see the look on her face when she got to present that. And she was even nervous. She was like, I'm so sorry, but like, this is how I did. I was like, oh my goodness, do not apologize. Like, it's amazing. Yeah, so then I was like, wait, can we do this for this and this and this? Because then I realized it's a strength that I didn't know she had.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known had we not passed it off. So toot toot for me. No, I'm just kidding. It's amazing when that happens, though, right?
Yeah,
Little moments that you get to celebrate.
Yeah. Cool. This podcast is produced by Chattanooga Podcast Studios, helping businesses and organizations make a deeper connection with their audience through the art of podcasting. An ideal referral for me would be a professional organization with a state or national presence. You can get in touch with me, Michael Crosa, by going to chatpod.com. That's chat with 2 T's, like Chattanooga, which is linked in the show notes below. Well, Heather, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on delegation and for being a sponsor of the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been another episode of the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast, produced by Chattanooga Podcast Studios. Thanks today to 148 Studios in Hamilton Place area for hosting us here in this beautiful set. Heather, where can people find the Hendrickson Agency?
You can find us on social media, the Hendrickson Agency. You can also reach out to us by phone, 423-243-3200. We'd love to chat with you.
Right on. We'll be sure to put that in show notes. We'll also put a link to Heather's Most Precious so that our podcast listeners can listen to that as well.
That's awesome.
Heather, if you listen to the show, and I know you do as a sponsor, thank you so much, you know that we end with a dad joke.
Okay.
And I've got one for you. So, I'm a new dad. The baby just turned 1 year old. Is that still new dad? It's still new dad,
but gosh, I can't believe it.
Well, we've already decided on the next one's name. It's going to be June, July, August. But we're going to call her Summer for short. June, July, August?
Oh, stop.
Terrible, right?
I'm more embarrassed than I didn't. That's so embarrassing.
Thanks so much for listening to the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast. We'll see you next time.